What if dinosaurs still walk among us today in the deep, unexplored corners of the world? Welcome to Musings and Mysteries and the Mythical Matrix. Ladies and gentlemen, mystery seekers, musers, conspiracy theorists, interdimensional philosophers, seekers of truth, comparative mythology enthusiasts, and last but certainly not least, all of you that desperately cling to your confirmation bias. Whether your interest is Atlantis to Zeus, cuneiform to quantum physics, we tackle it all from our quantumly entangled castle tucked away in the ancient flood-battered Central Pangaean mountain range. We're the one-stop shop for mystery, history, and comparative mythology. We're a podcast dedicated to exploring the ancient, mysterious, and unknown with logic and reason, and where we also theorize the geometric fourth dimension exists and is the spiritual. Only trigger warning for this episode is a logical conversation, so if applying the Socratic method on fringe topics is disturbing to you, turn off the podcast now. All right, Psych Fact, what do you got?
First off, hello.
Hello.
So I'm basing this off of one of my classes that I'm taking right now. But yeah, there's a lot of different problems with research, specifically in psychology, but outside of psychology as well. But the one type of sampling method, it could be called purposive, or judgmental sampling, and that's when participants are selected based on a specific characteristic or the purpose of the study. So right away, we have selection bias because the researchers choose the participants based on their own subjective judgment, and they think that those participants would represent the study best. So right away, we have that problem. Limited generalizability, confirmation bias, difficult to replicate, lack of transparency, all sorts of problems. So all this to say, if you are researching anything, be careful.
Yeah, and this will tie into some stuff that we're going to talk about near the end of this episode, actually. I didn't even realize that until you were saying all of this. But at what point are you synergizing things and answering them from your worldview and then forcing them to fit your worldview? And this will be a question that we'll play with near the end because it's relevant to some of the things we're going to talk about. But we'll head right into the episode overview here. So we're going to be talking about dinosaurs, but not just any type of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs that have supposedly been spotted within the last 150 years. So we're going to start off talking about the Kongamato, and then we're going to talk about Mokele Mbembe, and then we're going to talk about the Ropen sighting in World War II. And then we're going to play with the idea of if dinosaurs could even still be alive and why this would matter. And then we're going to do a conclusion, recap, and then maybe some small housekeeping items. So, all right. So we're going to start right off here with the Kongamato.
Can you spell that?
Kongamato. So the meaning is, and I will talk about sources real quick too. So I have known about all this stuff for several decades. This was probably like my gateway into the weird. This was like my true gateway, like back when I was like high school, early college. I was like, actually probably before high school, that I was interested in all of this stuff. So I know a good bit of this off the top of my head, but I did double check my facts with a variety of different articles and sources. All of that will be in the show notes for further reading. This is not going to be as academic of an episode because we're talking about, this isn't quite the cryptid category. It could be the cryptid category, depending on.
It's towing the line.
It's very much towing the line because this is like, hey, these could be actual dinosaurs, but it can be defined as cryptozoology depending on how you want to split hairs. So, which these kind of topics are no stranger to us on the show with, between all the spirit portal stuff we've talked about with, hidden in the cuneiform texts, Skinwalker Ranch, all those other things that we've discussed. It's nothing new for us here, but yeah. So we're going to talk about Kongamato first, a pterosaur that supposedly exists in Zambia and the Congo region. So that's like central Western Central Africa region, for those of you that don't know those off the top of your head.
Is it close to Zimbabwe as well, or is
I'm
that,
not even sure where Zimbabwe is off the top of my head, but yeah, it's pretty much like if you visualize Africa in your head and you pick right smack dab in the center, like where Africa starts to taper a little bit, like right in that region.
Okay.
So the meaning of Kongamato is breaker of boats, and we're just going to run through a bunch of these different accounts and talk about them a little bit here. So starts off in the 1920s, the earliest one I was able to find, with Frank Melland, who talks about how the natives were identifying pterosaurs from images that he was showing them. And they were saying that, oh yeah, we know what this is. This is the Kongamato. And they're talking about how it's this fearsome local creature. They have like traditions of it, and that it would come and like steal their sheep and stuff like that. Mm. And so this, of course, piques interest to explorers gradually over time once you have an account like this being sent back to, the more the calmer portions of the world. 'Cause there's a lot of turmoil in the Congo in particular. It's a little bit more unstable of a region from my understanding. So you have some explorers start trickling out, and the next big sighting happens with Ivan Sanderson, who encounters a black-toothed leathery-winged creature in Cameroon. Actually, I was reading some of the accounts, and he's actually kind of angry that people were trying to say that this was a pterosaur. He was more of the mindset that this was like a bat. But I mean, again, the descriptions that you hear from some of these people, it's very, very bizarre. It doesn't seem like the traditional descriptions necessarily fit, of like, trying to just explain it away as a bat or something like that. Go ahead.
I'm seeing bat-like wings. But it's not like Mothman, right? Like a human.
No. It's
like an actual.
Yeah, this is like a literal actual bird, like of sorts, but with like no feathers. So, what it actually is, there's room to split hairs on, certainly, because there's no definitive, concrete, like proved findings about this. And then fast forward, World War II kind of gets in the way here, and the next big sighting's in 1956. By J.P.F. Brown, who cites prehistoric-looking creatures over Fort Rosebery, Zambia. So, again, you have... but I mean, like, the thing with this, too, is, like, you have to take this with a grain of salt, because, like, I'm trying to think what it was, but there's, like, I saw a herring once. It was, like... the way it behaved was super prehistoric to me. Like, it looked really, like... it just seemed... I think it was a herring, but it just, whatever bird it was, it just had a very bizarre behavior. It had a very big nest. It was very loud in its big nest. It behaved in this way that seemed like it wasn't normal for what we would encounter in like North America.
Just for clarification, you said it behaved prehistoric by having a big nest?
Well, it's just like the noises it was making, like the types of, like the type of noises.
Was it like noises that herrings don't normally make, or?
Well, it's just noises I wasn't used to hearing because I wasn't used to that type. It might have been another type of bird. I can't remember. It was a big bird. It was something akin to a herring.
Okay.
But yeah, because that was like a decade ago. So I'm
oh.
old. Yeah. I don't remember exactly. I just remember looking at that, and because I remember being interested in like the pterosaurs and sightings at the time, and I was just kind of like thinking, I'm like, man, like that kind of seems prehistoric almost even, and it's kind of like weird. So I mean, again, you go off to a foreign continent, you're seeing the life there, and seeing something prehistoric in the skies isn't like necessarily automatically the most ridiculous thing off the bat. And so I think this kind of starts to get a little bit like the 411, where it's like, it's not necessarily any one particular account. Well, there is a couple interesting accounts in here, actually. The next one's pretty weird. But like, it's not necessarily one particular account, but it's more the conglomeration of the traditions and then people reporting seeing things. It's like where you have this collective interaction across like half a century. And that's kind of what adds and compounds to all of this.
Okay.
And then it gets really weird in 1957, so a year later, where there's a wounded man that he has like a gash on his chest. He has like claw marks like scratched into his skin. and they're like giving him aid, like, tending to his wounds, and they're asking what did this to him, and he draws what looks like a pterosaur and says that this is what attacked me. And they pulled out like an actual illustration, like like an actual like paleontology illustration of depicting what pterosaurs could look like, and he started freaking out. So it's like, okay, yeah,
like PTSD freaking
yeah,
out?
like panicking.
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, he very clearly believed what he was seeing is real, and he at least thought it was close enough that he started to have that fight or flight response triggered.
Mm-hmm.
I also say pterosaurs, not pterodactyls. I'm sorry if that's confusing, but I'm a bit of a dinosaur nerd, at least with this stuff. And so pterosaurs are the broad category. Pterodactyls are just a subcategory. So that's like saying, like saying pterosaur is like saying poodle, and saying pterosaurs is like dog, and saying pterodactyls is like saying poodle. It's like
the overall general title and then the breed.
It's a type of dog. It's a type of pterosaur. It's a pterodactyl. So just to clear up any confusions, I probably should have led with that. And then there's not really any more sightings since 1957. Supposedly 2010, there was a expedition out there that was done by an organization called Genesis Park. They didn't find anything when they went out there. Okay. So it begs the question, is this thing extinct? Is it just misunderstood, misclassified? Something else I want to bring up too, in talking about cryptids in general, is we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of advancements in science over the last couple hundred years where glasses and contacts are a big thing. It's like if you didn't have glasses or contacts and you had bad vision and you see like a deer with like a broken antler and like, I don't know, like a piece of like the forest floor, like a branch hanging off of it, you might look at that with your bad vision and be like, it's a cryptid, it's the Wendigo. But it's like,
depending on how bad your vision is.
Yeah, well, mine was pretty bad before my eye surgery. Like
mine right now is terrible.
Like mine was so bad that like I had to be about 1.5 feet away from someone's face without my glasses or contacts in. Otherwise, I could not see them clearly. Like I had to physically be that close to be able to make out a person's face. So I got corrective eye surgery though. So that was nice. Now I don't have to think about that ever again until I need readers in like 20, 30 years. So,
all is well.
Yeah. And then I think this is a little bit of a segue here, a little tangent. So sorry, user 123. But like, I'm like thinking too, like, man, like people that like were writing cuneiform as like scribes and everything. It's like, what happened when you hit like, 40, 50, 60, if you even lived that long, and you needed glasses? It's like, did you just stop being a scribe because you couldn't like see, or did you have to like hold the tablet like way out here? Because like these things here, like my dad actually got me a replica for my birthday. So I'm still trying to work to decipher this, but like I'm holding it and showing Maddie right now. This clay tablet here, like this is incredibly small. Like imagine trying to like read what this is from like this distance, or like make your impressions like arm's length. Like that's not easy.
Well, and also you have to spend that long to learn it.
Yeah.
But then if your vision goes bad, like who's going to teach it to somebody else?
Yeah.
So like even the teachers,
it was common enough,
or whatever, scholars, what would you call them?
Scribes,
or the people teaching their students how to write, they would also need to have great vision.
If you want to get technical, the Sumerian term is dubsar. Is what scribes are called.
Dubsar?
Yeah, and Sitchin plays off of this when he does.
I will not remember that.
When he makes up his character Undubsar, which is basically Lord Scribe. He just makes up a character in his book stuff to tell the Mesopotamian myth stories.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
I actually have a question.
What's up?
So I saw something. It's actually kind of funny to me, but there's like a possible explanation for the sightings and stuff. And they said many researchers attribute sightings to misidentifications of large water birds.
And that could be. I think there is some room for that. And I think that...
depending on the size of it. Because what's the size of the pterosaur or whatever?
I don't think there was any size given for this one. One of the later ones we're going to talk about, it was said to have a wingspan theorized of about like 25 to 30 feet.
Oh.
So pretty big.
Yeah. I mean, because in my mind, what I'm picturing doesn't look like a water bird, like a conventional water bird. Or they're also saying misidentified bats. It's like, okay, but a bat is so small compared
not
to
all.
Well, you know what I mean, though, like compared to what the image is in my mind, like of a pterosaur.
Look up giant fruit bats, because I actually have some possible candidates for lookalikes here in my notes.
Okay.
So look up a picture of that while we're talking. Storks are another one that could be big, at least from a distance. Like, oh yeah, I saw two flying over that looked prehistoric, and it's like, some of these other birds can look prehistoric depending on your criteria.
But like my question was like, you have to think how many researchers automatically write it off as something like that because they know that there's something out there and they're trying to hide it.
That's true. I mean, I do question how many people would try to hide something like that.
Yeah.
But it is something that you do have to think about and consider that there may be some biases out there against. But yeah, no, you're right. Generally, characteristics are leathery wings, so no feathers, sharp teeth, reddish or black coloration, longer beaks, often described as more bat-like than bird-like, and then that leads to them being potentially misunderstood or misconstrued as, just giant bats or storks, or even, I'm sure there's plenty of other things as well. But like, it's just like the constant fact that there's sightings that pop up all the way from the 1920s and before, even with these natives talking, like recognizing it. So clearly there were sightings before the 1920s that they had a cultural tradition of, going all the way up into 1957, and then everything just kind of drops off. It's like you have to wonder, but
like they had those sightings and then all of a sudden there's no more sightings. Like it was within a very short time period, like relatively short.
Right, but then, period. I mean, we don't really have much documentation from stuff from like the 1500s in that region, to my knowledge, in terms of like pterosaur sightings. It's just, local traditions and all of that.
You said the 1500s?
I'm just saying I don't think we have anything that would be in that region. So, I mean, it's interesting to speculate on. I think that there's a lot of ways to split hairs. I'm all for the fringe, but I'm for a reasonable approach to the fringe. Like, we need to ask questions about the fringe. I don't think we should dismiss this too easily and be like, oh, yeah, all these like 4 different accounts that we have here, it's just people misidentifying things over and over again for a span of like 30 years. It's like, that seems a little sketchy to me, but also we can't totally discard a misidentification either. I think that a balanced approach, considering both ends, is the way forward here. So we will take a short break, and then we're going to come back and talk about Mokele Mbembe. And we have returned here. Actually, having a funny thing behind the scenes here where Maddie was... you were asking how you spell Mokele Mbembe, and I'm like, it's in my notes here, I'll highlight it for you. And you're like, I can't see that, so I just start zooming in as much as I can in my Microsoft Word document with all of my notes.
We were just talking about context.
Yeah, and like needing like to be able to see and like how that can affect your perception of things. So, So the meaning of Mokele Mbembe is... Okay, apparently my computer's having a little spaz attack here with plugs. Give me a second.
Having a little seizure.
Yeah, just give me a second. Hopefully that fixes it. It did not. I don't know. No, my USB ports have been being weird. Can you stop?
It's throwing a tantrum like our child.
Yes. She's nearing the terrible 2s.
We're already in it, and she's not even 2 yet.
Yes. But yeah, so the the meaning of Mokele Mbembe is the one who stops the flow of rivers, and it's a rumored sauropod of the Congo. So I'm not as up on my other types of dinosaurs. I'm more on pterosaurs, pterodactyls. But this should be Brachiosaurus related. So when like you're watching the first Jurassic Park, the first dinosaurs that they see, I forget the names of the characters, but the when they're driving and they look and they see the dinosaurs with the really long necks walking around. I know you haven't seen Jurassic Park.
No one come at me. I have not seen any Jurassic Park
I
movies.
found you under a rock. It's okay. You hadn't seen any of the Marvel movies until we started dating, except for like one. And then I was like, yeah, that's like one of the worst ones. And then I like showed you a whole bunch.
Now we watched like all of them.
Yeah, we've watched all of them. We saw Thunderbolts in theaters. That was good. We need to go see Fantastic Four. I'm sorry, user 1, 2, 3. I'm getting derailed here. But anyway.
Hopefully he likes Marvel.
Hopefully. I'm sure yeah. But yeah, so the core region that we're talking about here is going to be the Congo Basin. So this is smack dab center, Congo, and then Democratic Republic of Congo region of Africa, specifically Lake Tele, which I actually don't know about where that is, but anyway. So accounts of this one are actually a bit later. This one starts 1959. Missionary Eugene Thomas talks about how there were some locals who supposedly killed and ate one of these Mokele Mbembes, and that those who like ate it actually got sick and died.
Oh,
so it's unclear.
That's creepy.
Unclear as to whether like the meat was like just inedible for humans, or if it was food poisoning or something else. There's also accounts of this missionary brought back that they created like pike walls to protect against it. Like they stuck sticks in like really big sticks in the ground and protruded it out, you see in Braveheart to stop the cavalry. They use that to, create safe zones from this thing coming in and messing with them. Then there were some later expeditions in the early 80s, actually, by Roy McCall from University of Chicago and James Powell. And I don't think they found anything, at least from what I was reading. But the locals, again, consistently are identifying the sauropod illustrations as Mokele Mbembe. When they show them pictures, be like, oh, yeah, Mokele Mbembe. So, again, you have this local like without the local confirmation, like that's my thing. It's like if it was just like explorers going in and being like, I saw this, and there was nothing else from the locals, it'd be like, okay, maybe a little weird.
It's kind of weird that they didn't think to talk or record any documentation of interviews with locals or anything.
Yeah, one tried to record the sighting of Mokele Mbembe. That one's kind of funny. I'll tell that one. Actually, I'll just go into that one now because that was also 1981. Herman Regusters reports hearing. Sorry, this might not be the right one actually. No, it was the 1983 one. So Marcelin Anganga claims that he had a 15 to 20 minute sighting at Lake Tele, and he tries to record it. He has like a camera with him because this is the 80s we're talking about. So he has like a video recorder and he's trying to record it. But in his excitement, he forgot to take the lens cap off of his camera. And so he just recorded like nothing. Like
Poor
the lens
Marcellin.
cap. Yeah, for like 20 minutes. Like could you imagine having like be like you're seeing a dinosaur and
I would be livid.
Like modern days, 2025, you get out your cell phone, your iPhone, and you're recording the whole thing, and in your panic you forgot to switch it from selfie mode, so it's just you watching the whole thing. I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad. But it's understandable. I mean, like, and that's the thing too, is it's like it's hard to quantify this because I could see this going either way, especially from a psychological perspective, where you could just have that freeze moment where it's like, oh, it's here, what is this? And then you just panic and you're not used to like, because whenever, you get put in high pressure situations, it's always said that you default to your lowest level of training. It's a very common thing said in martial arts and military spheres, all these other things.
It's all the adrenaline and everything.
Yeah, so you default to your lowest level of training. So it's just like, if you're just panicked, you're a lot more likely to make these kind of mistakes. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a true sighting, but I mean, again, it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's almost a little embarrassing to admit too, that like, oh, I saw this, but I I messed up recording it. And so it's like, I could see this going either way, someone just kind of faking it, whatever, or, someone actually having a legit sighting.
But the thing is, if it was fake, I don't think anyone, I don't know. I guess it depends on the situation. Like if I was faking it, I wouldn't tell people I saw it and I just messed up the recording, because that is pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's
Yeah,
leaning more towards true, because no one ever likes admitting something that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's criteria of embarrassment's a very common thing that's used for validation of ancient documents as well. Like this goes all the way back to like looking at the Gospels and even older documents beyond that.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at things in the Bible too, and I tend to lean more towards like, okay, this seems more like legit, because who takes their main character, one of their biggest heroes in their king's lineage, King David, and then talks about him committing adultery and murder of one of his best friends? Like, that's kind of embarrassing. That's very embarrassing. And then, like, yeah, there's all sorts of other stuff that happens there. And it's like, you look at all that, and it's like, yeah, this seems like this is probably more true than false, because these are very embarrassing details that they included. And so it's not just like this ancient, grandiose fluff that would get put in a lot of times, I think. But anyway, I digress. Tangents happen. It's all part of math. But yeah, so 1981, Herman Regusters hears booming vocalizations, and he reports seeing a darker figure in the water. He believes that he found the specific call of Mokele Mbembe, and the zoologist analyzed this, general zoologist, I don't know who specifically, analyzed it, and they reached a conclusion it's inconclusive. But, this reminds me of the Mothman trip that we did, and when we were listening to that one guy talking about like how in playing the recordings of Bigfoot that he had heard, and it's like 2024 then.
Do you mean the guy that was presenting and had a slideshow? Okay, that one. Okay.
Yeah, you remember that, because that was near the end, and we were all getting kind of tired at that point. But
yeah, I was
he's playing, and I talked about this on episode 21, 22, whenever the Bigfoot or the Mothman episode was. But he's playing this audio, and I'm just listening to this, and I'm like, this is like the worst. Like, it sounds like he recorded this with like almost a flip phone or something. And it's like, I'm not trying to put the guy down. That's why I left him anonymous. And it's like, I'm not trying to be negative, but it's like, if you're gonna set out to be like, I'm gonna go find Bigfoot, or I'm gonna go find, and again, this is the 80s we're talking about, so I get this with Mokele Mbembe, but it's like, if you're gonna, it's 2025 now. It's like, if you're gonna set out to be like, I'm gonna go find a recording of Bigfoot, and I'm going to get definitive proof. I am going to go out and I'm going to buy like a $500 at least like piece of equipment that allows me to record crisp, high quality sound.
And visual.
Yeah, well, at the very least sound, if I'm just going for sound. But yeah, ideally visual too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get this pristine audio clip, and then I'm going to get it analyzed as is, and then I'm going to spend some time like learning how to process this and process it to filter out the background noise to make it even more palatable so the audience can actually hear it and appreciate it. And so I'm just kind of like looking at that. I'm just like I don't understand the mentality there to be like, yeah, I'm going to go out and get these noises of Bigfoot, and it's just like this like really grainy flip phone sounding kind of audio.
Some people do lack the funds to buy the equipment too.
Well, yeah, I get that. But it's like, I guess for me, it's like, I wouldn't go out there and do this with bad equipment, because it brings more discredit to the field than anything. It's like, if you don't, because again, people,
I don't know about that.
People don't take cryptozoology that seriously. And so it's like, if you're going to go out there and try to prove cryptozoology, you need to have very convincing evidence to really bring anything to the table.
I agree with needing convincing evidence, but I don't think you'd be hurting the field if you had, I don't know, maybe I'm going about that the wrong way. I don't think that a bad recording would hurt the field necessarily.
Maybe not hurt, maybe that's too strong of a word.
But it won't turn people over to believe it easily.
You're not really being very productive, I guess, is a better way to word it. That's kind of what I mean. It's like you're getting a recording that the true believers are going to be like, oh, that's it.
They're going to immediately think.
And then you're going to have the people that have confirmation bias that want Bigfoot to be real. Yeah. And then you're going to have people that are like skeptics, of course, have their confirmation bias and be like, yeah, it's just a crappy recording. I don't believe it.
I 100% am a skeptic with things. That's just how I've always been. Mm-hmm. I don't really believe things until I see enough evidence and everything, other than, believing in Christ, but I have my reasons for that.
I was a huge skeptic for Bigfoot. I thought it was all just a huge hoax until I talked to one of my really good friends, and he was talking about how he had multiple wacky encounters with things, and I'm like, and he's the type where he jokes around, but I could tell he was being very like he doesn't joke around about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He jokes around in very surface level ways. I'm not saying his name.
I know. I'm trying to figure out who you're talking about, but you can tell me later.
Yeah, I'll tell you in the next break, and you're gonna laugh. But he was telling me all these stories about like these encounters that him and some of people that he knows has like very well. And I'm just like, yeah, this seems kind of weird and out there. So, all right, wrap up our Mokele Mbembe conversation here. And we're just kind of hitting the highlights of a lot of different sightings here. I'm not going to go wildly in deep, and then we'll like deep into every single sighting, and then we'll wrap everything up and kind of explore some more at the end here. So characteristics that are generally reported was a large, long neck and tail. It's generally seen as a herbivore, semi-aquatic. Doesn't eat humans, but it is very territorial.
So dangerous, but not going to eat you.
Yes.
Okay.
Large footprints were reported at certain points. I know they were reported. I don't know by whom. I don't have that in my notes. And then you have anecdotal sightings, of course, and then audio recordings. So, of course, there can be some things that Mokele Mbembe could just be mistook for. Elephants could be one with their trunks. Hippos, another. And then
but that's
even extinct rhinos. Yes, it's weird.
It's so easily identifiable that an elephant trunk is not the neck.
And elephants, I don't know if elephants are super territorial in the sense that, like,
they're so sweet.
Yeah,
they're such sweet animals.
Yeah, I mean, they may be a little territorial in the wild, but like to see that, you'd have to get pretty close, I feel like.
Yeah.
Especially to like close to a young, you'd have to get really close.
Oh, yeah. Like if you threaten a baby, like the mama's going to come for you.
And what the interesting thing is too is you look at the name of this, the one who stops the flow of rivers, and it's like, okay, clearly we're talking about something very big here. You know, it's not something teeny. Like I don't know the size of the lakes in these regions here, but I can't imagine an elephant having the ability to stop a whole river flow alone. But I don't know. Could be mistaken depending on the size of lakes that we're talking about. Of course, there's a lack of bones, any fecal matter being retrieved. But again, we have this deep root in cultural consistency of reports of Mokele Mbembe, which I think lends a little bit of credence to the idea.
Around what year was this again? The 80s?
Yeah, this was like, I think 50s to 80s region.
And it's kind of funny to think about too, because it's not technically that long ago, if you really think about it. But research was so much different back then for everything. It is so different now.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about it. You probably wouldn't need as much evidence back then to believe something.
Right. I mean, I feel like I don't need as much evidence now necessarily, because I understand that there's certain limitations that our natural physical world brings. And I think that there's room for faith to a degree. And I think that you have to apply that with a grain of salt, of course. I'm not saying, I just believe in Bigfoot just because my friend says so. But it's like you apply logic, you apply the Socratic method, you apply science, and you go through all the methodologies. And then there's just, science doesn't admit that Bigfoot exists, but does that mean he doesn't exist, or does that mean that we just haven't found proof yet?
Yeah.
So we will return in a moment to talk about the last of our creatures on the list, the Ropen. soaring in the skies, trying to find pterosaurs. Here on Musings, on Mysteries, and the Mythical Matrix, we are transcending the quantum plane, taking a break from comparative mythology to study comparative sightings of similar creatures from Africa to the Philippines.
I am happy to report I now know which friend Jay was talking about.
Yes. Yes, and we will leave it at that because
Yes.
I know he doesn't want that
Yes.
talked about. So, okay. 1944, we're in the height of World War II here, and you have a Lieutenant Dwayne Hodgkinson. He's in New Guinea, and he cites a creature that he describes as being 25 to 30 feet in wingspan. I think he was more fixated on like the wings of it and like just the general like core features and trying to guess its shape and its head. But other people were with him, I believe, and reported other details. But the collective details were that there was a head crest that this creature had. It had a long tail with a diamond tip, and it had leathery wings. It flew off, and then it came back a little bit out of curiosity, I guess, and kind of looked at them for a little bit and flew above and then left. There is also sightings reported by a Brian Hennessy of this creature, who is a psychologist. And it's funny, one of the articles I was reading was talking about how, like, yeah, this person's like probably least prone to insanity or psychosis.
I don't know.
Being a psychologist. But yeah, no, there's definitely, I mean, what do people say? Like generally a lot of psychologists go into the field to try to fix their own problems and, you know, end up helping others along the way kind of a thing. But it's like, we all have our own problems. But so, I mean, just because you're a psychologist doesn't mean you're not crazy. But I mean, the odds are probably a little lower, I'd say. No, you disagree? Someone that's getting a master's in the field disagrees. Do tell. Let me sip my tea here. I was hoping there was a little bit more my energy drink there. Yeah, let me try this again.
You reminded me of that meme with Kermit. No, I wouldn't make that kind of generalization because I think it really does depend on so many factors like biological, cognitive, coping skill, like social support, everything affects your, I guess, chances of having a mental health problem. I wouldn't say it boils down to an occupation because there's so much more that goes into that. But that is kind of funny. But yes. I would disagree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, fair enough. We're all entitled to our opinions and perspectives. Yes. But yeah, so the local name for this is either the Ropen or the Duas, and I'm not sure the exact pronunciation on that. I usually try whenever I'm dealing with a foreign language, but yeah.
So those are two names for one thing.
Yeah, it's like the local name.
Like a dialectal.
And so this is New Guinea. So I want to guess Tagalong, but I could be mistaken on that. I forget what the language of New Guinea is, that whole region. But yeah. All right. So this is actually an interesting thing. I was digging into some more recent research and exploration because there's been people actually have gone out here and tried to do various explorations, which I have wanted to do for like over a decade now. But there are people that have actually gone out and done like explorations to try to find this stuff. And supposedly the Indaba Bird Project got like video footage at night and reported that the tails had bioluminescence. And I tried to find the video. I know I was like looking at this. I'm like, oh yeah, I have seen this before. And I was like trying to find the video. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I do remember watching the video before at one point. And it's like these weird kind of like lights, like bioluminescent like lights that are in like the sky and then end up vanishing. And it's interesting. You know, is that a Ropen or is that a UFO? Like, what are we talking about here?
The only thing that I've seen bioluminescent is like the oceans, and there's like glow in certain parts of the ocean, but other than that,
from the video, I do remember this was very clearly in the sky.
Yeah,
but it's still interesting. And again, like you got to question, you know, what are we really looking at here? Is this just some misclassification of some other species? Is this actually like a Ropen? Did pterosaurs have bioluminescence? But yeah, this is Paul Nation's 2006 video that I'm referencing here. It's glowing lights over Umboy Island. And it was interesting because I didn't realize that like people had actually gone out and done expeditions to try to find this thing. I just thought that these were coincidental videos and stuff. So I might have to reach out and see if I could even get this guy on the show at some point. That might be a fun interview to do, to talk about, because I was looking on his website and he's done like some expeditions out into the region and everything, and like had pictures from like his time out there and his flight over on like like one of the Cessna planes and all of that. So and apparently there's been some creationists that have done expeditions to prove evolution as like a contradiction to it. So, creationists going out to try to debunk evolution by finding a pterosaur.
How?
Which is, well, I mean,
how would that debunk it?
So we'll talk about that more in a minute, because that's what I want to explore a little bit more with confirmation bias. But but the idea is like, it's kind of weird if the evolutionary theory is true that one creature remains unchanged for a very long period of time and doesn't go through any evolution, and it's still the same as we could find in the fossil record. And that does raise some questions, but we'll talk about whether that actually is a problem for evolution or not here in a minute or two. Natural candidates for misidentification. It could be the giant flying fox. It's a big bat in the Philippine region. Frigate bird would be another good candidate here for misidentification.
I've never heard of that before.
You could Google it if you want to look at a picture.
Wow. Okay.
Well, sorry, I don't have a great description of the frigate bird off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be rude. Jeez.
Google it.
Google it.
Anyways.
I'll let you Google it and you can describe it to us. How's that?
I don't know how to spell it.
It's in my notes. Do you want me to highlight it and zoom in to 400 for you?
Yeah, because I can't see it. Wow, thank you.
Are you going to misidentify that word as a cryptid?
Frigate bird. No, but I misread it as frigging bird.
You frigging bird.
You frigging bird. Oh. It's got a big neck.
Is it like a crane? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, now it's coming back to me. I did see what that was.
It's like a bird, like a flying bird, but the hanging things on the turkey's neck. I don't know what it's called.
I forgot. Yeah, I did. I was looking. Yeah.
They're huge. Oh, and the necks get bigger.
Yeah, they bloat to like, it's a sign of like competing with other males, I think. Yeah.
All right.
That's
cool.
right. I was blanking on that. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yes, I mean, like, again, we got to, consider that there could be like an adrenaline distortion here to a degree, when you're looking at these sightings, but I don't think there's a lot of room for that. Again, I think it's pretty clear that it's an unknown species that we're talking about, or just at the very least, some misidentified animal. And I do believe there is local lore around the Ropen being a creature, again, at least from the nicknames itself. So there is some support for it being a real physical creature.
I'm actually confused.
What's up?
This is the bioluminescent one, right?
Bioluminescent and the World War II sighting.
Okay.
Supposedly the same one.
When I'm looking up bioluminescent, and maybe I'm just not looking up the right stuff, but when I'm looking up bioluminescent, the color is not red like what you would see on the bird's neck.
Yeah, it was green in the video.
It's like green and blue.
Yeah.
So that is already a question for me. Like,
yeah.
Like,
no,
how true is that? But I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. And then one last thing too is I think that the way that the lieutenant quantify the size of the bird as he compared it to an aircraft, I did not recognize which one when he said it. It was a smaller one, clearly, during World War II. I'm pretty up on most of my World War II fighters. So
that's really big then.
Yeah, so he actually compared it to it was about the size of this plane. I just don't remember what this plane was. I didn't put that in my notes.
But then I'm kind of drawing from my sensation and perception class in my bachelor's program, but it's like, okay, but how well did he perceive that? Because the distance of the object distorts the size of the object. So I'm kind of worried about that too.
Okay, so
How true is the wingspan?
I'll throw in some context here. Military, now I don't know what it was like in World War II, but there is to a degree some referenceational whatever kind of like word you want to use there. So there's a way to quantify distance very quickly that you can kind of pick up in some instances, I would say. So I wouldn't throw it out entirely. He could have very easily been just that good to quantify distance, because also you had to think in World War II there was air power was a really big new thing, and so people were used to, especially AA gunners, were used to looking up at the sky and having to kind of quantify the distance and guess the distance that the bombers were flying, so they could get their flak bursts timed right to explode and actually take out the bombers before they got bombed. So again, this is an Army lieutenant I think we're talking about here, so I don't know. And lieutenants in and of themselves tended to have sometimes have a novice reputation in the Army. Versus like the sergeant and enlisted side. So I mean there is some room that, hey, maybe this person just wasn't the greatest at this and he just grossly like overestimated this, but I would say probably not, with the military aspect thrown in and like what his status in the context of what military was at that time.
But then if it's that big, I don't know how you would misinterpret a frigate bird.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
I think I'm just coming at this from, there's a lot of room for human error.
Yes.
In all of these accounts. Not just this one, but this one there's already like a lot of questions going on in my mind. Like, how would you mistake a frigate bird for that if it's that big?
Yes. No, I agree. I think that's I think it's a bit weird to try to say that you would mistake something so extreme. It does seem like more confirmation bias of not wanting these sightings to be true, to try to just dismiss it as something like maybe like a frigate bird. But I do want to throw it out there because, these were things that, seem like they could be at least in the vague category of a description. So we are going to take another break, and then we're going to talk about like why this matters. Could dinosaurs still be alive? And then do a recap and our closeouts. So stay tuned, and we will return in just a moment. Floating away to the Philippines here on Musings on Mysteries and the Mythical Matrix to go out and explore the mysterious and unknown. Oh, that's cool. You just found some red bioluminescence, huh?
Yeah, so it's not just... Okay. See, every single time I've looked it up and seen it, it's always been blue or green. I never knew that red bioluminescence was a thing, or other colors.
I'd imagine it's probably most colors, but I don't know.
Probably. I just never knew that. That's cool. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. So we're going to talk about, could dinosaurs still be alive? And I think it's possible. We do have known examples of what's called, living fossils. This one particular species, the Sumerian's fine. Latin, I'm assuming Latin, or maybe Spanish.
Coelacanth?
Yes, thank you. And there's numerous other examples of things that were once thought extinct that have been discovered in more obscure regions. So a dinosaur being thought to be extinct but not actually being extinct, is that the weirdest thing in the world? Not necessarily. So I don't think we should throw that possibility out. And if you are throwing that possibility out, that may be some confirmation bias. I'm open to it, but I need more convincing with definitive evidence to buy it. But I'm also willing to go out and get that evidence if I had time and money. So,
I don't know if I have an opinion about dinosaurs specifically, but I mean, I just know how much of the ocean is unexplored.
Yeah.
I would lean more towards that there's species that we have no idea exist in the ocean, but also the rainforest as well. Because that's also a place that hasn't been, fully examined, I'll say.
Yeah, but this is, I believe, what's called Lazarus taxonomy, is where something is believed to be extinct with our current information, and then we actually find it alive somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
who knew?
Yeah. Shocker. But, so I mean, let's explore this idea here a little bit, because we've talked with it a little bit as we've gone through. If a dinosaur was found alive tomorrow, would that disprove evolution? It would definitely shock science. There's no question about that. But I mean, so the evolutionary theory doesn't claim that all dinosaurs died out. They just claim that dinosaurs evolved into birds. So,
well, there's also, isn't there a theory about alligators and stuff came from dinosaurs as well? Or like
I'm not sure
prehistoric creatures.
I'm not sure about that. But it would prompt a reevaluation of assumptions within terms of extinction. But I don't know how much of an effect that would really have on the evolutionary theory, like objectively here. As a Christian, not necessarily a 6,000 year young Earth creationist, but as a Christian, I'm trying to look at this objectively as I can. And it's like, would this disprove evolution? Maybe, because you do have to answer the question as to why one species has not changed for millions and millions of years. But that doesn't necessarily mean evolution's wrong. It just means, like, that in of itself doesn't disprove evolution. And avid listeners know I have my bone to pick with the evolutionary theory and how we quantify evidence and all of that. But does this really prove that evolution didn't happen? I don't think it automatically does. It just means that it might be more of a complex subject than we've considered before. And it does bring up questions that need answered. Like, how does something not evolve for millions of years?
Or remain undetected for that long.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is how do we know it hasn't remained undetected? Because we have local sightings.
Right.
And the word dinosaur was only invented, and I think, in like the 1800 time period. So that's a very new word. So what were these called before then? And the answers in Genesis proposal, at least, is dragons, which I don't think is outrageous, because how were dragons described? They're described as these big scaly beasts with bat-like wings. That sounds like someone took a pterosaur and a brachiosaurus and combined them together. And
I think it just depends on how you would define it, because when I think dinosaur, it's like, okay, fire breathing, but that's not.
You mean dragon, not dinosaur?
Yeah, dragon.
But here's the fun thing: there was recently, this was about a decade ago, but there was a study done on pterosaurs' skulls, at least one particular one. It has a weird tubing system that goes through its skull.
Oh yeah,
and they actually believe that some pterosaurs could breathe fire. And it's like, you look at stuff like that, and it's like, this is a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a verse in Isaiah 30. Chapter 30, verse 6, that talks about, depends the version you read. Some will say a darting snake, some will say fiery flying serpent. I need to go look at the original Hebrew on that and try to parse that apart a little bit. And so, because that could be referring to like a serpent, like flying pterosaur. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to parse this, I think, and I think there's a lot of room to explore, and we shouldn't expect to see the word pterosaur when the word pterosaur was only invented a couple hundred years ago, describing things 1,000 years ago. There are a lot of accounts across the world, going back to medieval times and stuff, even like St. George and the Dragon is a classic story of this one like knight like slaying a dragon. I forget how much of it is like actually believed to be literal versus like correlative to like the story of Michael the Archangel slaying the dragon in Revelation. But you do have various accounts that exist going back to medieval times and even before of dinosaur-like creatures existing and being called dragons. So we do have to weigh all of this here. And I don't think it disproves evolution, but I think it does demand an answer from the theory of evolution as to why wouldn't this change? And I don't think that question would probably get dismissed very lightly by most scientists as, oh, well, we can fit this into our model super easily, because that's what happens with the standard model all the time. It's just, oh, we can fit this into our model super easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a time and a place to say, hey, we can fit this into our model. But then also, I think there's a time and a place to say, hey, this is not answered very well by our model. And I think that there's, at least in mainstream with the standard model, I think there's a lot of, how do I word this? There's a lot of gaps in just kind of saying, just trying to cram everything to fit into the standard model. And sometimes it doesn't really fit very well. Like this kind of a question of like, how do dinosaurs not change for millions and millions of years? It's like, oh, well, it just is. And they just try to cram it in without really giving it a very solid explanation, without considering that, hey, this worldview could be right, but it could also be wrong. What other worldviews could answer this? And it's just this one materialistic, naturalistic worldview approach. And I think that tends to be a problem. And that, not saying that it's bad to have that worldview, but when you force everything and you don't at least entertain the possibility of something more, then you become very narrow-sighted. And I think this is a problem that, everyone can face regardless of worldview. I think Christians can, young earth creationists can look at this. And, when I was, more of a 6,000-year young earth creationist, I looked at this and like, oh yeah, this is absolute disproof of evolution. It's like, now I look at this and I'm like, I don't really think so. It raises some questions, but I don't think it disproves anything. What do you think?
That was a lot. I apologize. I'm on my second cup of coffee today.
No, it took me an energy drink getting energized for this episode.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm definitely more of a skeptic than anything. With not just dinosaurs, like stuff, but just any cryptid. I don't know. Eyewitness, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no specimens, no fossils, no DNA, no fecal matter, nothing that we can clearly contribute to being a Ropen, Kongamato, Mokele Mbembe, no clear modern photographs or videos. If that one guy had just taken the lens cap off, maybe we would have it, or maybe it would just be put in the Nessie category.
For me, personally, if it was just eyewitness alone, it probably wouldn't be enough for me.
That's fair. And I mean, everyone has their different standards. And that's the thing is like, I don't require scientific standards to believe something. I require probability. And I'm willing to trust eyewitness accounts, especially multiple eyewitness accounts, more than probably like the average materialistic person would.
Yeah.
There certainly is room for mistakes. But
I guess it also depends the context. Like, how many years do the eyewitness accounts span?
Mm-hmm.
The details in the eyewitness accounts. There's so much more to it that you have to take into account for. But again, I'm just so used to researching for my master's and like modern research and the standards that we have now, that I don't know if I can believe just eyewitness accounts from that long ago.
No, and that's fair. It's good to be skeptical too. Like I'm huge on anecdotal evidence. I think that people's experiences, especially when we're talking about, the more fringe and paranormal stuff that's harder to quantify, that would be fourth dimensional, that matters to a degree.
Yeah.
It's not proof, but it matters. And I think that just gets written off because everyone wants to approach the world these days from a scientific, materialistic, naturalistic lens. And that's good. Mm-hmm. But it has limitations, and people forget that it has limitations and just too broadly apply it.
Like there's something for me. I know it's not dinosaur related, but the ghosts, like paranormal stuff, there's one tool that they use, and I don't know what it's called, but it tracks figures and it makes like...
Oh, the Xbox Connect. Yeah, we talked about that on the show.
Stick figures.
Yeah, Trace and I talked about that one.
I don't believe that at all.
No, that one, we talked about that, and someone did a whole article that I had talked about on this. I forget what all the nuance was, but like, it's very easy.
The technology that we have now, that could easily be faked. Yeah. Easily.
Well, it's just a sensor.
And,
it's just like a sensor trying to read stuff and having issues too, even.
Like the sensor could be off, the calibration. It could be a number of things. Like stuff like that. Personally, I don't believe in.
Yeah, I think
Especially
that was
with the technology that we have now. It is easily faked. And like even with AI.
Oh yeah, now like you need more than video proof for. I literally
Yeah.
created an AI video last year for the MQuad page talking about this World War II encounter, and it created a very lifelike pterosaur.
Yeah.
That you would, if I took and showed to someone in the 80s, it'd be better than their 80s video cam footage.
Like they would think that that was real.
Yeah, and so it's like you could fake anything now, and so it's like you would need more than video proof. You would need to actually like bring a pterosaur back.
But also with AI, I'm going to use a funny example, but I'm in a crochet group on Facebook, and there's a couple of people out there that will post fake AI crocheted items, and you can tell it's AI if you crochet and you're used to it. But from an outsider, like who does not crochet, you wouldn't know that it was fake.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. Like it also depends on the experience that you have in the field, whether you can tell if something is faked or not.
What's funny, it's funny you mentioned this. I'll segue off of this because I have a lot of experience making AI videos and making AI content.
Right.
It's not the sole thing that I do, but I have experience with it. And they do a lot of these videos now where it's like, can you tell which one's AI? And it's like two people, like two eyes opening, and one's like supposed to be AI and the other one's supposed to be real, and you can't tell which.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, people in crowds and stuff like that. But because I use this software a lot, I look at the details and I see how it moves. I have a pretty high batting average to be able to pick out what's AI and what's not.
Yeah.
Now that's going to change very quickly. Because I mean, like literally a year ago, the best way to make AI videos was like with moving AI pictures. Now we've progressed to the point where AI video, you can literally sync text, like spoken text, to the AI character's lips, and you can make the AI character say something and it's believable.
Yeah.
We have an AI video on our page about if Enkidu had an iPhone, and it's like a 2-minute long video.
Yeah.
And it's like, looks like he's talking, looks like it's a real person.
And this is only going to advance further. It's not going backwards.
In 5 years, it's going to be to the point where it's going to be as functioning, if not more so, than, you know, the highest state of the art Hollywood, and everyone will tentatively have access to, in some capacity, a Hollywood tier studio from their laptop. And it's going to change. It's going to change a lot. And you know, there's a lot of people that are anti-AI. I can understand there's some concerns there, but it's not going away. It's something that's here to stay. And
whether you like it or not,
yes,
it's here. It's not going away. It's too popular for that.
Yeah, so
it's gonna continue to grow.
One of the other channels that I manage on YouTube, stop motion stuff, I posted one of my stop motions on there, and someone was like commenting because I used AI thumbnails to try to get, you know, because thumbnails are an important part. So I use those. I use this with MQuad too.
Yeah.
But someone was complaining like AI thumbnails, it's AI, and I'm just like yeah, it's AI. AI's not going away. Like I need to use the best tools I can so I can get more views on my videos so that I can make this worth my time to produce this content.
I hope that person knows that like your videos itself weren't.
You can't do
AI.
No, I will say you can't fake stop motion with AI very easily. I don't think anyone's going to ever invent that technology with AI because like doing like 10 to... I'll explain stop motion real quick here because we're going down a huge rabbit hole. This is relevant to how to quantify real versus fake footage. But like, so stop motion, you basically, if you've seen that one iCarly episode where Spencer's doing, I referenced iCarly. I'd not seen iCarly until we started dating. But yeah, that one episode of iCarly where Spencer is like moving a figure, taking a picture, moving a figure, taking a picture.
It's so funny because he counts the number of photos that he has left, and he rattles off the numbers so quick.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it is. like it.
Yeah.
And
so,
you know, how many photos do you need for just 1 second?
So it depends on the frame rate you're running. So for people that aren't familiar, video cameras, basically the way the video cameras work is they just take a certain number of pictures per second, and then they also record sound and they sync the sound to the pictures. So generally, it depends on the kind of video camera you're running. Anywhere from 24 to 32 frames per second is normal. So that basically frames per second means 24 to 32 pictures are playing per second of video footage that you have. So if you have a 10-second video running at 24 frames per second, you have 240 pictures playing in 10 seconds. So you have amount of frames per second and then the duration of each frame per second as well. So what I do with like the stop motion I've created is it's anywhere from the probably like 10 to 16 frames a second. So that's 10 to 16 pictures per second of footage that is recorded. So AI is not going to be taking that over anytime soon because no one's going to, probably not until they get bored with all the super high, 60 frame per second, 100 frame per second productions.
If they feel nostalgic and want to do
like
stop
that's
motion.
going to be probably the last thing that gets touched by AI. So I was like, I can't even fake that production itself with like AI.
Like the only reason you used it was for the thumbnail to grab the attention because
and some of the character
the
voices,
purpose.
But
yes,
and occasional sound effects I couldn't find elsewhere that were normal.
But that's the purpose of the thumbnail, is grabbing the attention. That doesn't mean that the entire video is AI.
Yes. So I think they were very much aware of that because there's just no way to fake all of that.
Well, I don't know if he was complaining about the thumbnail being that.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, all this to say is like,
technology is going to advance.
Yes, and AI should be a tool to augment creativity, not replace it.
It's a tool that'll help us later.
Yes. All right.
We went down a pretty big
we went down a rabbit hole with AI there. It happens. So we're going to talk about recap of stuff, quick housekeeping items. I don't have much to say, and then we will close out. So the caffeine is hitting my bladder right now. So I have incentive.
I won't.
No, you're good. If you have something else to say it. I'll be fine.
Okay.
But I mean, so Kongamato shows high cultural recognition of a prehistoric-looking flyer creature. I think even in Kenya that there was certain like jewelry types that actually resembled like a pterosaur-looking like creature as well that we didn't mention. Mokele Mbembe has consistency with local sightings and could possibly be a sauropod-like creature. The Ropen has sightings that span multiple decades. I mean, it's like you look at all three of these sightings and you combine them all together, and we have confirmed like dinosaur, like at least claims of sightings from spanning about 80 years.
Not 3 sightings, just
like
3 examples of
3 different creatures,
sightings.
2 in Africa, 1 in the Philippines.
Okay.
Total, all 3 of these different types of like different sightings of different creatures with multiple sightings in each category spanning 80 years. That's almost a century of sightings. It's like, it doesn't even take all of those for this to be right. It just takes one of these sightings to be true.
And like I said earlier, like the eyewitness account alone probably wouldn't be enough for me. But if it was all 3 of these, like I said, the context, if it's all 3 of these examples and multiple sightings for each one over the span of that many years, I would probably be okay with that. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing is like there's
like I just want that proof, but
I want it too, and I'm not going to. I believe it exists. I believe it. I believe all 3 of these exist personally, but I'm not going to use that as a reason to say it exists factually
because you want it to.
Yes, not even because I want it to, but like I'm not going to use my belief as a reason to state it as fact because I have different criteria for what I believe to be true and what I understand is scientifically and academically acceptable in terms of evidence. Because they are 2 very different things. And you have to use, it's fine to believe whatever you want to believe. But then the burden of proof is on you if the proof doesn't automatically exist to go out and try to prove stuff if you're going to assert that it's true. Which I'm willing to go to the Philippines and look for dinosaurs if I had time and money. But, that's a factor. So, but yes, I mean, mainstream science doesn't really seem scared of this idea. It demands evidence, but my concern is that they would try to take it and just jam it into the standard model. And I think that that's the biggest problem is that everything is taken and jammed into this one model that doesn't always explain things the best. And it's not bad to have one model that you try to see the world through, but I think you also need to consider that other models might be able to explain what you're looking at better, and you have to be able to take that step back and have that objectivity to say, hey, maybe another worldview can actually solve this problem better.
If you're researching anything, you have to be objective.
Yeah. That's why I appreciate Steven so much, is because he approaches it from that Socratic method, considering different worldviews approach and not confirmation bias, where like I had someone comment on the Dan McClellan video response that I did. It's like, I didn't even watch your video, but you're wrong, and I don't believe you've questioned anything. And
that was so comical to me.
I'm just like,
it was so funny.
I'm like, you literally are defending Dan without even having heard the conversation. You listened to a minute and you admitted this in the comment thread. I'm just like, dude, you cannot make this stuff up. It's like, this has to,
You're at a loss for words, honestly.
Yeah, like, I want to say that's rage bait and that person isn't serious. But like, and I don't mean this to be like insulting to people, but like there are some people out there that like,
that are like that.
That are just like that. And so it's just like, I really want to believe that's rage bait. But like,
see, that's when loyalty gets dangerous.
Yes, because it's the de jure cult centralization of Dan McClellan. We won't call it monotheism here. Since he has long abjured the term monotheism. It's like,
I love that you put your pinky up too.
Yeah,
You said that.
I put my pinky up to try to be fancy. At a certain point, it's just like, okay, you're clearly just trying to sound academic and you're talking down to people. Like, just put it, like, okay, fine.
Put it in plain English.
It's like, you're saying de jure cult centralization of monotheism in ancient Israel. Like, I had to take a breath just to say all of that.
You're trying to be fancy.
It's basically just monotheism. You boil it down. You might have some nuance there you want to split hairs on. Fine, whatever, in an academic sense. Vast majority of people aren't going to care.
It's so funny.
I don't know. We are in housekeeping, by the way.
Yes,
now.
I'm sorry.
I guess I should put that on the timestamp. 35. Okay. But yeah, no, I guess that's a good segue actually, because I've been trying to work through Mark Smith's book on the origins of biblical monotheism, and so far I am about 50 pages in. I am thoroughly disappointed and concerned. Thus far, I mean, I'm open to, hey, maybe I'm seeing. I might have vented about this in the last episode too, but again, this is just like I'm doing a lot of research behind the scenes. I'm reading a lot of books. I'm trying to dive deep into stuff. I'm working on learning 4 languages and brushing up on one right now. Like, I have like literally 2-3 stacks of books sitting over by like the couch that like I just am working through most nights. And as soon as we're done here, I'm actually going to go work on Sumerian. So like I am doing a ton of research. So you sometimes might hear the same things. Sorry, it's just I'm researching and reading and thinking a lot of the same things as I'm going through. So I share that. But I am not impressed with what I see in terms of the methodology here. He doesn't even, 50 pages in, and I have yet to find one instance where he actually offers a rationale for the conclusions he draws without just stating his opinion and interpretation or other scholars' opinion as proved fact on interpretation of a text from over 2,000 years ago. And I just look at that and it's like that is very concerning. And it's like all of these things are based on very fragile interpretations as well. Like there's
like one little fact could destroy like the whole thing, or what do you mean by that?
Like it's like a phrase that exists in common in the Bible in a poetic reference, and it also exists in Ugaritic poetry. That's like these are both Semitic languages, and we know that the Akkadians also, well, the Sumerians had a myth that about the same thing, the Leviathan, the 7-headed twisting serpent. So it's like, how do we know this isn't just a Semitic term for a shared memory that goes back to the Proto-Semitic language? It automatically chooses from bias. And that's the only explanation I can come up with. It automatically chooses from bias because it takes something that is only one perspective out of multiple, says that that's fact, and then doesn't really offer any rationale. Just the same way Dan dodged evidence in his whole 25-minute rant to me. Mm-hmm. So we will be doing a Ugaritic poetry discussion in the near future. I'll retell some of that, the Baal cycle and all that. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about this origin of Yahweh as a storm deity in the Baal cycle, or in Ugaritic Canaanite polytheism. My thing is I'm to the point where like I've thrown up my hands and I've said, fine, you have to use historic methodology when you're making historic claims. You need to have evidence and present evidence in a historical sense if you are going to claim that there has been alterations in a text. So if you're going to claim the Bible was rewritten and redacted, you need to have some kind of evidence to back that up other than just your opinion on literary analysis. Like historically, you're making a historical claim, you have to have that evidence. Mm-hmm. But I'm to the point in my research where I'm just like, I know this. I'm going to set this aside. You need to have historical evidence. Fine. I'll give you that for now for the sake of arguments. I just want to see what evidence you do have, literary-wise. I have a running page on Microsoft Word of like 2 pages of all of the grievances that I've found. Because I'm studying Akkadian and Hebrew, so I've taken and I've analyzed and found some similarities in all the Ugaritic texts, which all 3 of these are Semitic languages, so there's similarities across all 3. And I have like a whole list of issues that I have already found that are concerning to me that at least bring up probable doubt in a lot of these theories that are claimed as certainty. They propose alternative readings existing. And that is a huge problem for claiming anything with certainty. So that's my little rant. There will be more to follow on the Bale Cycle, Ugaritic poetry, Mark Smith's book, Origins of Biblical Monotheism. I haven't decided if I'm going to finish it or not. It's the point where I'm 50 pages in and he's just asserting everything about the origins of biblical monotheism as fact based off of very limited or no evidence whatsoever. And I'm just like, This is supposed to be his reasonings for the origins of biblical monotheism, and there's no reasoning. It's his dogma. It's his opinion. It's at least what it seems like thus far in my reading. So, yeah, I ranted for a while. Sorry, but yeah, I'm not impressed. I'll leave it at that for now. Yeah, just put my soapbox away.
Closeouts.
Yes, closeouts. So, anything else that you want to say before we close out the show?
When you're researching, just be careful. Look at the methodology that the researchers used. There's different types. Make sure that it fits what they're saying. Don't go off of just one source. Find multiple sources that support the same idea.
Wikipedia? Wikipedia as your source of information.
Don't use it.
Henry Cavill will be disappointed in you if you use Wikipedia as your source of information.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it is bad.
So bad.
It's great to go to get a general feel for the topic, or if you just want to do a cursory read, or if you want to go to a hub for sources. All of that's fine. But if you're using that as your academic source of information, but yeah,
we've said that how many times though?
Yeah.
People are still gonna do it. I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna listen to us say that and like, I'll show you. I'll find a source on Wikipedia that has all the facts. You won't find that.
But yeah, using literary analysis alone to draw conclusions on historical facts, the way that these scholars like Dan McClellan and Mark Smith seem to be doing, it's basically just like looking at an ancient text, using that to mind read what these people 3,000 years ago were thinking, and your interpretation is correct as long as you look over to your scholar buddy and he nods in agreement. It's pretty much what's going on here. And it's like, I have a big problem with that type of methodology. Like, that is not a concrete form of methodology to make historical claims on the past. Sorry.
There's also, with modern research right now, specifically in psychology, each study only looks at one very specific question within a very specific population.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at too many factors or variables within the study, there's a lot of data that could get lost or misinterpreted in that. Mm-hmm. So you want to answer the question thoroughly, but you also want to define the question itself very distinctly to make sure that you are answering it correctly. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, figure out the methodology that they're using and make sure it fits what they're actually researching. Mm-hmm. Because you can have all the data that you want, but if that data doesn't actually support the question that they're asking, that's important to know.
Yeah, and that's my problem too with the academic system in general, is there is a lot of dogma and people just get labeled generically as experts, and experts are equated to being trustworthy. And it depends. Some experts very reliably use good methodology and are very trustworthy in their conclusions and the way they use their methodology. Other experts, quote unquote experts, misapply methodology. Dan McClellan here, perfect example in this instance that we're referencing. He has misapplied literary analysis to being proof in a historical sense. You cannot take the take literary analysis and use it as proof for a claim in history. You use historical methodology for claims on history. It's like you have to, so you have to know how this research is done before agreeing with the experts. You have to know the standards of these fields. And that's something that a lot of people just don't know and don't have exposure to, sadly. So, but
it takes practice.
Yeah, I do, luckily, because like I grew up doing archaeological digs and grew up around rigorous historical methodology.
Not just that, but just research in general.
Yes. And then my dad having a PhD definitely helps, because I can go to him and be like, hey, explain to me your methodology here. How does this work? And, I'll get an answer on it. So yeah, we said we were going to do closeouts like 5 minutes ago, and we
I need to go on my walk still.
Yeah,
it's getting dark.
We'll close out here. So buy us a cup of coffee link is in the show notes. If you are able to support us financially, that's where you can do that. No pressure whatsoever. $25 donation or more will get you mentioned as a producer for the upcoming show. I understand it's not possible for everyone, especially in this economy. At the very least, share the podcast with someone. If you know someone that is interested in these kind of conversations, send the podcast their way. Pick a good episode. Say, hey, you might enjoy this. That helps us a ton. The more listens, the more likes, the more interactions that we get, whether it's on Spotify, YouTube, wherever, that helps us keep making this content. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, m.quad.musings, Facebook, Musings and Mysteries and Mythical Matrix. You can email us at m.quad.musings@gmail.com with your questions. We regularly interact with listeners. Also, the Discord server, link will be in the show notes for the channel where I discuss various things. You're missing the M-Quad conversations since we've gone to bi-weekly. You can tune in and hear these kind of discoveries as I discover them, like that we talk about on the show. Like I'll go through and post research notes and thoughts that I have. So we want to hear from you ultimately, whether it's on the Discord or email. So we invite you to send us your confessions, concessions, contentions, or snide remarks, whatever you like about the show, whatever you dislike about the show. This is an interactive, quantumly transcending time conversation. We want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you've been listening on the earth with the mortals, in the stars of heaven with Enoch and the cherubim, or
in Sheol,
we thank you for quantumly transcending time to join us for this epic cryptid discovery conversation. And we hope you have a good rest of your night as I go off to study more ancient languages and texts.
Bye.